The Dallas Mavericks have themselves a pretty bright future if you ask me. That doesn't mean they don't have some questions to answer, but I do like the place they're in right now. We can start with Nerlens Noel, the athletic center that they traded basically a bag of chips for. I'm still up in my feelings because the Celtics didn't trade for him. Justin Anderson and 2 second-round picks. That's all it took for a guy who could be one of the best defensive players in the NBA one day, on top of a guy who has potential as a rebounder as well as someone who can improve offensively. I'm a big fan of Nerlens at that 5 spot. And then we look at Harrison Barnes and the jump that he made this season, being a guy for the Warriors who was just chilling in the corner and being the 5th guy a lot of the time for them. He's the vocal point of the Mavericks offense, and he definitely stepped up. His isolation game, his ball handling, his triple threat moves, jab steps and all that, turnaround jumpers in the post, it's all just improved mightily. And Harrison Barnes is now a legitimate scorer and doing it efficiently. The mid-range is pretty good, the three-pointer is there, and he's still really young, so I have a lot of high hopes for Barnes moving forward. But I think what's also great is the 2 young guys who are really going to lead the rebuild for the Mavericks, in Harrison Barnes and Nerlens Noel. Both of them play defense. Barnes is a guy who can defend multiple positions, and I mean, we already know with Nerlens, I think that gives them a lot of versatility because they can go for some offensive guys first, and I don't think it'll hurt the team overall. Of course, they have the 2nd best coach in the NBA in Rick Carlisle, so they have a lot of good things going for them. Let's talk about the rest of the roster. Yogi Ferrell was an emergence this season for them. A point guard with not much height on him, but he shows a fearlessness when it comes to attacking the basket, getting by defenders, and I mean, his scoring potential seems pretty real, and hopefully he can be a nice playmaker as well. How good can he really be? I don't know. I mean, I would be very surprised if he became like a top 10 point guard in the NBA, just because, I mean, it's tough to get up there number 1, but very rarely does someone come out of nowhere to the point where they become one of the better players in the NBA. That doesn't mean I don't think he can be decent and maybe at least a solid starter, but you know, I think the Yogi fever thing, I mean, I don't picture this guy becoming like one of the 20 best players in the league, but that's okay. There's also Seth Curry. I mean, he's a nice player. Who knows if he'll actually be on the roster moving forward, just because teams are going to be wanting his services for his outside shooting. Rick Carlisle is a whiz when it comes to guards who can shoot, so his best place might just still be in Dallas. And as for Dirk, well, I mean, he's not going to be around too much longer. He can still be a nice, efficient scorer as well as shooter when he's there for them, but don't put him into the future plans of this team. There's also Wesley Matthews, the 2-guard position. I mean, you know, Matthews, Seth Curry, I don't know if there's a real, like, go-to option at the 2-guard spot. They might have to find someone. And then also Dorian Finney-Smith. I do like him for his defense and his activity. He is going to have to develop the overall offensive game, but he was getting some good minutes for a coach who typically does not play rookies that much. So that's a good sign for him. But we can talk about just the ways that they can actually improve this roster. Here's the thing. Dirk has the team option. I think they're going to decline it and then re-sign him for like, I don't know, 10 to 12 million or something, which saves them some money. They're still going to have to re-sign Nerlens, though. Restricted free agent. I assume someone is going to throw a max offer at him, which means they're going to have to pay like 20 million or something. It'll put them like right at the salary cap, so they can do some things. Now we can talk about the NBA draft. I think there's a decent chance they go with Lauri Markkanen, I believe his last name is. I mean, just look at him, and then you look at his play style, which is being a shooting big guy. The comparison already makes itself, so I'm not going to say it. But he seems like he can be a legit offensive star in the NBA. And because you already have Nerlens and Barnes, you can go with an offensive player or like a Malik Monk, and you're not going to fear that your defense sucks because, well, you already got 2 guys who can play defense, one of them being a center. And in today's NBA, we see Rudy Gobert, Joel Embiid, guys who, at the center position, who are really good defensively. They can make up for someone like a Malik Monk who might not be the best on that side of the floor. So I think those are two options the Mavs could look to in the draft, given that they're probably going to be around like number 7 or 8 with their pick. I mean, they're not really going to have a chance at like a Markelle Fultz or anything, so those are just some options for them. Ntilikina could be a pick for them at the point guard position if they wanted to just go all defense. I mean, having him, Barnes, and Noel, 3 guys who can play defense, and, you know, Barnes and Ntilikina being guys who can shoot, that would be good. But the thing is, I think this pick is going to determine what they think of Harrison Barnes, because if they select a guy like Ntilikina, then I feel that they are saying Barnes can be the big-time scorer on like a really good team. If they go with Markkanen, then I think that's them saying Barnes is more of a number 2 guy. I think the same thing could be said for Malik Monk. I don't know. Now, one X factor for the Mavs is they're always a free agent destination, but I mean, you have Harrison Barnes right here. He's still really young, and I don't think any of us know how good he can really be. I mean, did anybody think he was going to jump up this season the way he did? Does he have another level he can go to? I think he definitely needs to improve on his playmaking, but the scoring potential is definitely there. We're just going to have to wait and see on him. As for any free agent moves they could make, Patrick Patterson, just like a backup 4 who can shoot for them. Another one, Jonas Jerebko of the Celtics, just a simple guy who can make some shots at the 4 spot. Now, if they draft Markkanen, then there's your answer there. But the Mavericks, I think the big question is how good is Harrison Barnes, and I think that will determine where they go with their draft pick. Personally, I would probably go with Lauri Markkanen to be your big-time player, but I like Nerlens Noel, and I mean, they're going in the right direction.